everybody. I'm Ryan Harris. Welcome to the SnoWest Show. Today we have a recap of the Rocky Mountain States Hill Climb Association season opener. They kicked off racing last weekend down in Geneva, Idaho at the Salt Pass Border Dash. Now, this race was originally scheduled back in January, but you remember it got really warm and it kind of softened up the dirt down at the parking lot and would have been a muddy mess. So they postponed the race. Moved it to last weekend, February 9th, 10th, and now we have that first race in the books, and we roll in this weekend, headed into Afton, Wyoming. So we're going to recap just the Salt Pass Border Dash, the opening round, talk to some of the racers that competed in that. We're just going to call up a few of these guys and talk to them about their weekend and their results, their sleds, how setup and everything went. But first, before we jump into that, I want to thank our sponsors for the show. The SnoWest Show is brought to you by Polaris Snowmobiles. Polaris Pro and Chaos RMKs are engineered for three things, if you haven't heard it by now: instant lift, effortless control, and immediate response. There are some smoking deals on 2023 carryover Polaris RMKs, as well as some 2024 models out there. You can even pick up some of the SnowCheck models, the Patriot Boost, the 9R, as well as the 850 RMK. Go to your local Polaris dealer to check out those deals. Go to Polaris.com to learn more and to find your local dealer. Also sponsoring the show is located in Big Sky, Montana, only 5 minutes away from Buck Ridge and Carrot Basin. 320 Guest Ranch offers lodging and accommodations for your next snowmobiling trip. You can pack up your gear and rent a single cabin for yourself or a bigger cabin for a larger group. 320 Guest Ranch is a great place to call home for your next adventure. Check it out at 320ranch.com. Speaking of that area, Big Sky, Montana, we're finally picking up some snow. We got slammed last week. Winter is back. We went through that warm spell. I feel like we picked up an extra year, and it's 2025 now. But anyway, on to the show. Sam Peterson, we just wrapped up Salt Pass Border Dash RMSHA event. How did you do down there?
Oh man, it was first of all, it's good to be back on the race circuit, and we're fortunate to be having these events. A lot of people put in a lot of work for us to make it happen, and it was a good race. There was, I had some mistakes, just a few bobbles and whatnot that cost me some wins and whatnot, but overall it was pretty good success. I was able to take home the Stock King, Stock Premier King, which was my second ever in the pro class, so that's pretty exciting. And then got a third on the mod sled, which was a big relief. I didn't know how I was going to hold up against them guys, and being on a completely different snowmobile.
That's, speaking of that class, the third through fifth, you guys were within 0.2 of a second. I don't know if you've looked at the times. You beat Andy by 7/100ths of a second. I mean,
it was pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't super stoked with my run. It wasn't smooth. I didn't really have a run that I felt like was amazing all day until King runs. Obviously that run felt pretty good, so we're gonna try to clean that up for Afton if that's even possible with that race. That's kind of a Hail Mary there.
Yeah, it seems like you go to the first race or two and you try to learn what you need to change and do differently at the next race, and then Afton's always the next race, and everything goes out the window on the first run.
Yeah, that's the plan, It's crazy how in that sport, you can have one little bush or little stump just completely ruin your whole run. Like, it's pretty incredible that these athletes, we're all the top 5 or 6. I mean, we're within, a second or tenths of a second, which shows that we're pretty much pushing the snowmobiles and ourselves to the maximum.
Yeah. So you ran pro 9 stock, 9 mod, 1,000 stock, open stock, and open mod. 9 stock. So you wound up finishing 6th, just outside the top 5. You were about 5 seconds off of, about 6 seconds off of Keith's time. Who won that class? Talk about that run. That was your first run of the day, of the finals day?
Yeah, it's came around one corner and the track washed a little bit and kind of got me out of that groove and lost the momentum and just basically losing that momentum and trying to regain that in one spot takes away, you know, takes away your 5 seconds there. I
So then
mean,
you,
it's a
so
steep hill, so
yeah, what happened with the snow? What was the snow like as the day progressed? Because I know it wasn't a
yeah, it was
super
kind of
cold day, but it
weird,
was warm enough to change the snow.
Yeah, these corners just kept getting pushed farther and farther down because there wasn't enough snow to or heavy enough snow to make like a solid berm. So you're having to travel a long ways, to keep in the snow and or you could possibly, take a risk and cut the corner and, head straight to that gate where you're dangling on basically ice, which which is, and that's Keith and I were able to find a few lines in the King runs. I saw his line and I took it as well and I was able to make it just a tenth of a second faster. So
Yeah, that pays off
um,
big. Nine mod, you finished third. You were a couple seconds, 2.5 seconds off of Blaine and Justin.
yep.
Did the hill change much by the time you got from nine stock to nine mod? I mean, that's only two classes
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some more like dirt walls, I guess I would say, that show up and things that can kick you off different. I mean, I try not to pay attention to them, but on a course like that, it's a whole different ball game. It can change from one racer to the next, and I'm not making any excuses. It's just sometimes it's the luck of the draw, and you can prepare yourself. You can see them bumps coming sometimes, but man, we're going so fast. You can only compensate for so much.
So you ran nine mod, and then you immediately came down and ran 1,000 stock. Do you remember where you
Yep.
were at in the running order in each of those classes? Like how much time did you have?
I was five apart. I was one of the last few in nine mod, and then 1,000 stock. I think I was in the top three. I think I was third out.
So do you think that short
So
window played into you having a fast run on that? Because you won 1,000 stock. So
yeah, it
so
it
five runs later,
helps.
you go up and win a class.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely helps for sure. Big thing is having that adrenaline pumping already and being warmed up, and being able to, well, basically going from a nine mod to a 9R. You feel like you're out running a 600, so you just keep it pinned.
Yeah.
That
Well, it's
helps a lot
interesting because
too.
your clock time went up about 3 seconds is all going from your mod to the 9R stock, which
Yeah,
is interesting. And then that
yeah,
have you
that's
looked at the
crazy.
clock times on the top four in 1,000 stock?
No, I don't really pay attention to that.
So you were a minute 17.76. Luke was a minute 17.854, and Blaine was a thousandth of a second slower than Luke, a minute 17.855.
Wow.
I mean, you guys are stacked in there like that. If you go back to the old days when this is all manual stopwatch, this is a
Uh,
completely different race. Like,
yeah, we actually, it's funny you say that. I beat Luke in 700 stock one year at Afton by 1/1000th of a second. And we figured out the average speed we were going up the hill based off of distance. And then we figured out it was about 2 inches on the ski is what basically the difference of reading the ski tip or the bumper going through the lights was what our difference was.
geez. Well, or the front of the ski loop to the back of the ski loop
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point.
Not even. Yeah. Not even. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so a win in 1,000 stock, and then you've got a little bit of a break, and then you run up in pro open stock.
Hmm.
Keith wins that class. You finish second.
Hmm.
You're 1.1 seconds off of Keith's time.
Yep.
you're faster in open stock than you were in 1,000 stock. You're a minute 16 to your minute 17.
Stock turbo was ripping. It was actually, we ended up turning the boost down before my king run. It was cutting out because there was no traction on the course, so it was tuned way too much for the course we were on. So we actually took horsepower away and added some more clutching, richened it up, like basically made it slower, and because it didn't run very good for me, and then for open stock it ran flawlessly. It's kind of crazy how different courses call for different tuning on the sleds.
So is that a change you made at this race, like during, between the course of the 2 days of qualifying and finals? Or is this something you went into?
No, I ran open stock on finals day, and the sled it cost me a lot of time. It was cutting out, ran terrible. Pulled it up to the player's trailer, told them what it was doing. Then I went and focused on my next run and came back, and they just said, it's good. It's good to go.
Did they tell you what they did, or you just got on it in your hand?
Nope, I just got on it.
Just a surprise.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking when you're racing?
Today.
So when you get on it after they make that change and you go do your next run, what are you feeling and what are you thinking? Or are you just committed to the gates?
I don't think about
All right.
I don't look at RPMs. It's just, if it's running good, it's running good. If it's getting me where I want to go and not having any bobbles, it's good for me. I'm not real picky.
So then your fifth class of the day, Pro Open Mod. What happened there? You high mark. You high mark and you get 11th out of 12.
Yeah, I had a smoking run going. I hit the first 4 corners. I hit all the lines I wanted to. Had a flawless run going, and I came into the goalie dangling, and one little bush kicked my ski, threw me off balance, and tossed me over the sled.
Oh, you came off.
Yep.
Man.
Yep, didn't roll or wreck or anything, just tipped over.
It's kind of hard to roll it on that hill, isn't it? It's no Afton. It's steep, but it's no Afton.
Yeah, you can roll a sled pretty easy there.
All right.
Luckily, the spot I was in was was a good spot.
Well, so what are your thoughts going into Afton? What are you changing? What are you getting ready for? What are you looking forward to?
Oh, man, I've always loved Afton. It's always been one of my best races. It's where I got my first king title in the pro class and in the semi-pro, I think. So it's always been one of my favorite races, and it's just so technical. There's so many obstacles, being smooth and not making any mistakes goes a long ways in this course. I think I won last year. I went over the top in 36 seconds, I think.
Gotcha.
Which is pretty insane. I think they did a dash for cash one time back in the day, and I think somebody went over in 33 seconds going straight up.
That is so fast.
Yeah.
Straight up, yeah.
Well,
one more thing. Talk about the Premier King class. So you ran against Carson Ehrman, Taylor Lindy, Keith. It's just you four, right? That ran off in Pro King.
No. There was Andy, Luke, Jay. I don't know if Blaine ran or not. I'm not sure on that one.
So how did they line up who runs in this stock Premier King?
It's a random draw for when we go, but
so this is no longer the winner of each class.
It's based off of points. So, I run 3 stock classes, and say I get a top 4 in all of them, a third, fourth, and a fifth, then I might have enough points to go in. Where if I'm only running 1 stock class, I have to win that class to get in. Because if I get second, like for example, I got third in 9 mod.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to make it into Premier, but the people, like Cole Wilford or Toby that are running 4 mod classes, they might get a fifth, sixth, seventh, or a third, and they get more points to go in.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of tricky, it's screwed Keith and I many times, but it's also helped us out before, whether I didn't win a class, but I was in enough of those classes to make it in. It's kind of goes both ways. It's kind of fun, you get the top 10 guys racing for the Stock King, and then the top 10 for the improved and mod. So, you're not just watching 2 people compete for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like the way they do that. All right,
Yeah.
Sam Peterson, we'll let you go.
Well, we're going to try to keep her going and hope to see you at some races this year.
All right, sounds good, man. Thanks. All right, Keith Curtis. Keith, you went 4 for 5 on class wins, won 2 Kings. Pretty good run there for the opener.
Yeah, definitely a solid weekend. Happy with results. I had a couple things happen that, I guess, put me in a bit of a predicament in 9 mod, but move forward from that, and all the other classes were first place finishes. The improved and modified King were both great. Stoked with that. Sam and I had a pretty intense battle for Stock King. We were, I think, a couple seconds ahead of the rest of the competition, and he just snuck that one in there. So,
well, I
overall,
just got off the phone with him. He said he stole your line, so for one of those runs.
He did actually steal my line. He did, and I saw that. And actually, no one else really saw that. And I saw him take it. I'm like, of course you would take that.
Yeah. What are friends for? Right?
But no, definitely like a solid weekend. Bear Lake's always an interesting race. This year specifically was, we didn't have a ton of snow, but it wasn't probably the worst year that I've ever seen. And the course was set up pretty technical, so it was fun and challenging. There were big head walls, and there was ice, and there were some nasty side hills, and some pretty technical, gnarly lines. So it made for some good racing.
So yeah, as you're moving class to class, so you're running 9 stock, 9 improved, 9 mods. So you're racing back to back on these 3 finals. But do you remember your running orders, like 9 stock to improved to mod? Like how much time do you have coming off of the stock run and then getting on the mod or the improved and going back up?
Yeah, not a whole lot. It depends on how the running order is set. But we actually had to move, like for 9 stock, I think I was towards the end of that class, and then 9 improved, I was in the middle towards the end, and then 9 mod, I was like up at the very start of the class. Well, I had to tell the starter guys, I was like, hey, I'm up next. There's no way I can make it down and go get my other sled and be ready for it by the time I go. So if you're in a tight time frame like that, they'll actually push you down to like the middle of the class. So I had to do that in 2 different classes on Sunday. Or on Saturday for finals day.
So do you think that's a disadvantage, though, in some ways? Like the course gets a little more chewed up?
I don't know. I mean, there was only 12 qualifiers. That's all they took.
Yeah.
So it didn't make too big of a difference. But yeah, I mean, there is some luck of the draw there. I mean, sometimes it's better to be earlier in the class because there's more fresh snow, especially in those really big CC competitive classes because, you get 12 of those pro guys ripping through there, and they'll take every square inch of snow on the slope. So sometimes you are better off being early. However, that can kind of go the other way too, because if someone gets stuck on the mountain, Bear Lake only had 1.5 feet, 2 feet on the hill. So, but sometimes if there's more snow, they'll create like a legitimate bomb hole, and you got to find a way to either jump over it or get through it efficiently.
So your Pro 9 stock, your 9 improved, and your 9 mod were all in the 1:14, minute 14 range, which is significant. Where you're kind of switching sleds there. Your open mod, you cut that down to 1:11.86. How different are the sleds that you're racing on this course, this type of a course, where it's not super technical, super steep?
Right. Yeah. typically how it works is the more technical the course is, the less power you need. Like I've won Stock King in Afton a couple different times on my 600 back in the day. But it's because you're able to keep the 600 pin the whole way up the mountain. Where on the big CC sleds, you're constantly like full throttle, full brake, full throttle, full brake, and it's hard to kind of get in that rhythm of being proficient going through the course. So like this course, specifically Bear Lake, it just kind of depends. Like 9 stock, the course was a little bit smoother. But now that the bigger CC classes are being raced later in the day, it's definitely more technical than in the previous years where 9 stock and 1,000 stock and some of those classes were early in the day. So as the day goes on, the course gets more technical.
Right.
But for Bear Lake, like 9 stock was from 9 stock to 9 improved to 9 mod. The course didn't change too much. And my 9 mod run I had something happen, and I ended up getting, I went into a really, really big bush that I'm lucky I even made it over.
Was that on a corner or something, or you just kind of got thrown off the main line?
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of coming into a line, and then something happened, and I went down into the ravine, and there was a huge bush, and that brush is like, it's buckbrush. It's like super strong, springy, really. It's kind of like desert strong in a way. But I launched into it, and it was like a trampoline. I launched into it, and I like popped up and out of it, and I kept going and had to get back on the line and keep going. But that 9 mod run should have definitely been much faster.
So what was your smoothest run of the day, do you think, on the finals? Your open mod or one of your others?
Yeah, open mod was pretty smooth. I did hit another bush in that one. And I'd probably say open mod was probably my smoothest run, or Stock King. Probably one of those 2 runs. Stock King, I let out just a little bit on top, and I shouldn't have. And I kind of came into this, the trench from the day before at a bad spot, and I had to brake check, and then I got back on it. But like, it was a pretty smooth run besides that. Yeah,
you won open mod by 3 seconds over Cole Thomas.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
open
fast
mod was a good run.
A lot of these runs are stacked up, within a second of each other. You can throw a blanket over the top 3 or 4 guys. But yeah, you had a gap there in open mod. That's kind of a different than we see across the board on everything else. 9 stock, you won that by 2 seconds as well.
Yeah, 9 stock was a pretty smooth run, I feel, as well. There's one line that I wish I would have taken a little differently, but I mean, it's tough. You get up there on the side of the mountain, and you got a couple different lines in your mind, and you get to a certain spot in the course, and you're like, well, I guess I'm here. I'm just going to roll with it,
Yeah. Are you making any changes through the day to your sleds, or what you're wearing as the day warms up? Are you changing? Like, what's a finals day like this look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, finals day this year was definitely colder and more crisp than typical. So obviously sleds run really well when the air is really crisp and clean and cold. So I was able to make some tuning adjustments with clutching and whatnot, and then suspension changes. I kind of have a good idea rolling into the day, into the weekend, what it's going to be like. But constantly making little minute changes here and there. As far as gear, I was wearing kind of a mid-weight jacket for qualifying. I just kind of get through the day and qualify, and finals day is where it counts. So finals day, I was wearing just a lighter weight jersey is all, but other than that, finals day is a totally different gear though. You grab overdrive and you rally.
Yeah. What do you take from this event going into Afton? Anything you're going to change in your program, sled setup, or do you just kind of go back to last year's Afton more so than you do this first race of the year?
Yeah, sled changes probably won't make a ton of changes. I felt like everything was pretty good. We learned a few things there at Bear Lake, and we're making a few small changes to the mod. to get it ready to go. But other than that, the other sleds are good to go. Typically, we make a few clutching changes, just a little bit different elevation in Afton versus Bear Lake. So we changed a couple of those things up, and main thing is down here hanging out with my buddy James and some guys down in Arizona. So soaking in some sunshine and going to have some fun on the dirt bike and mountain bike and be ready to go.
Get that vitamin D up, have an advantage, huh?
That's right.
So your mod sled, how happy were you with how that ran? Because that's a new sled for you, a little bit different than last year's mod sled. How were you impressed with that?
Yeah, I mean, with any change, there's a few things that you gotta make sure that you're comfortable with, and of course, being our first race on the 9 mod, there was a few learning curves that had to get familiar with and get a hold of, and get a feel for the sled in a real live race scenario. So, but overall, the new 9 mod is a weapon. That thing is lightweight and fast, and the raddest race machine I've ever had. So it's really fun.
All right, we'll wrap up here real quick. Just one more question. So you ran Improved Premier King and Mod Premier King. How many guys did you run against for both of those King classes?
I think they take top 10, I believe. Top 10 based off points.
So I think
they're around 10 or 12.
How did those two runs go? Where you won both of those, so you came away with a Improved Premier King and Mod Premier King. You lost Stock King to Sam. But how did your Improved and Mod King runs go?
Improved King was pretty good. It wasn't quite as smooth as my Stock King run, but was able to get that luckily. And then Modified King, those were back to back to back. It was pretty gnarly, so I actually started to get a little arm pump in Modified King. So it was a little bit tough to hold on to about 3/4 of the way up the mountain. So that always makes things a little bit interesting, but was able to hold on and make it happen. But Mod King could have been a little smoother for sure too.
All right. Well, good job. Yeah, 4 out of 5. That's a good way to start the season. On to Afton, right?
Yep, on to Afton, and keep the momentum rolling, and we'll be ready to rock and roll.
All right. Well, good luck down there. We'll if we don't make it over to Afton, we'll be talking to you after that race also. So good luck.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Keith.